We are now, sir.
In order for May 9th, 2024. We're not checking.
We'll start with board member Adrian Hartman. Here. Board member Brian Weinstein. Here. Board member Omar Malik, that's me, I'm here. Vice Chairman Ted Cicero.
Here.
Chairman Larry Garcia.
Here.
Chairman, on tonight's agenda, we only have one appeal that's at 344 Summerdale Lane. And that will be posted on your agenda. If you bear with me 1 second, I'll get that up in here so anybody viewing online can see it. Right now, there's nobody online, and I do try to let you know if we have any other participants during the process. I'll kind of note a little bit about the process for this appeal. We'll begin with the reading of the public hearing in there. Mr. Malik, if you don't mind reading that when we get to that point, then staff will get sworn in, and then we'll have a presentation that's going to be done by Mr. Carswell in here, who's our planning and zoning administrator. After the board has any questions with Mr. Carswell, we'll move on to the applicant. We'll swear them in, and then they'll provide their findings, and then answer any questions that the board may have in there. And then if there's anybody in the public that wants to speak, they'll be given an opportunity to speak to, whether it is in person or online. And again, right now there's just the applicants and nobody is online at this moment in there. And then you'll close the public hearing, and then you guys will have deliberation amongst yourselves and determine if you're prepared to take a motion. Please note, all motions have to be positive. That means considering granting the appeal. Then at that point, if there are any conditions that the board members would like to put, you would note those and then vote on each one. And then after that, vote on the initial motion about granting the appeal. 4 members would have to concur to authorize the variance. If there's not 4 members, then the appeal fails in there. So that kind of covers the process and procedures. Chairman, if I may, I'll be glad to read the public hearing notice in there. Say, Mr. Okay. The city did post a public hearing notice on April 24th, 2024. By state statute, we're required to post the hearing notice 15 days in advance of the scheduled meeting. We also sent notifications to property owners within 300 feet of the subject property, and also posted the notice in the county of St. Louis, and that's the city's official newspaper in there. And you have in your packet an affidavit of its publication date on April 24th, 2024. So the City of Olivet public hearing notice: the Board of Adjustment of the City of Olivet, Missouri will hold public hearing on Thursday, May 9th, 2024 at 7:00 p.m. Central Time at the Olivet City Center located at 1140 Dealman Road. The meeting will be conducted via Zoom webinar. The link will be available at the city's website. The meeting is in regards to the following application. Petitioners Brian Tabor with Prestige Pools and Spas. The property address is 344 Summerdale Lane. The property owners are Stuart and Paige Noel, Mr. Noel being here. The property is zoned SR Single Family Residential District. The appeal request is side yard setback variance. The petitioner seeks a variance of 11.3 feet from the side yard setback along the north property line to construct an in-ground pool 13.96 feet from the north side lot line. The required setback for the side yard is 25.2 feet. This is under code section 400-1592, permitted accessory structures in residentially zoned districts, subsections B.6, pools, D, setbacks and side yards, which states that no further than the side yard setback of the lot. All interested parties were invited to attend and appear at the hearing, and then that the information regarding tonight's hearing is available at the city center during office hours and online. Yes, sir.
Like to have.
One thing I'd ask, you do have to click on your mic on and off to be.
Thank you. The applicant like to step up?
Your first one will be Mr. Carswell.
Oh, I'm
So,
sorry.
hold on 1 second. Yes. Sir. And then Chair, before each speaker, I'll swear them in, if that's okay. All right. Mr. Carswell, do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes. All right, Commissioner Board, before you tonight is the property of 344 Summerdale Lane. Like Mr. Trejo stated, that it is, they are seeking a side yard variance of 11.3 feet from that side yard's line. With that being said, in front of you is the staff report, and within the staff report, I can give you some background of the property. So right in front of you on your dais is the location of the subject property. It's zoned single-family residential. The house was originally built in 1950, and the property is improved with a residential addition taking place in 2019, as well as that the yard setbacks were determined by code, which is section 400.200, and the accessory structure setback is determined by section 400.1592, and it is lot 9 of the Ladue Edge amended subdivision. So in front of you now on your dais are the setback calculations, and these setback calculations are set by the council, which is applicable to all residents of Olivet. And in these setbacks ensure the character and value of our community. So for instance, for the front yard setbacks, there's a minimum front yard setback that should equal the front yard of a legal lot of record and no less than 25 feet. For rear, it's 20% of the lot depth and no less than 20 feet, and as well as certain accessory structures are allowed to be within 10 feet over that. As well as side yard setbacks, it's 12% of the lot width on lots that are greater than 60 feet in width, which this lot is, I think, like 211 feet or for the width, which means that they would have that 25.3 foot setback for their side yard. And as well as for side yard setbacks, it's no less than 5 feet and no waivers for accessory structures depending on that side yard setback, hence why they have the pool, and that's why it's coming to the Board of Adjustment. Now in front of you is a different graphic that depicts the previous lot. This is the previous pool. This is all existing as of right now with that pool being shown. You can see the blue is the 12% side yard setbacks. That red line at the top in the green is actually the rear yard setback for pools. So they can go up to that line with that 10 foot from that rear yard property line. And then the front in the yellow is the front yard, as well as the two pictures on the right are showing aerials of the property. So here's another graphic that shows the portion of the pool that this is now reoriented. So the pool is going from that existing orientation to now this proposed orientation with that 11.3 feet of that portion of the pool being in the side yard setback. Here's another graphic that depicts the encroachment location. So you can see in the red is that right rear yard setback, and that pool portion that is sticking over the rear yard setback is permitted by code. And the yellow line that's going north to south of, I guess, of that graphic, well, not, sorry, it would be east to west with the north arrow. But the yellow line is depicting that side yard setback where you can see that that portion of the pool is over that. So it would give them that let me get the correct number. It would be that, yes, the 13.96 feet of that from that rear yard, or sorry, from that side yard property line. So the findings are, I've already kind of gone over some of the background information. The lot is a legal conforming lot. However, it does have that unique width with it being over 200 feet in width. That means most lots in Olivet, the minimum by code is 100 feet. So they're already over 2 times that, which puts them in the position of having that 12% side yard setback, which gives them that 25 feet. So there's 25 feet of their yard on both sides that are not being able to be utilized from that side yard setback. This also me, yeah. Okay, so now this is about the jurisdiction. So the board should have the jurisdiction in the following instances to hear and decide the appeals where it is alleged if there's an error and that's made by the building official in enforcement of this chapter, to interpret the provisions of the chapter in such ways as to carry out the intent and purpose of the zoning map, to permit the public service corporation, or the public utility necessary, and to permit the reconstruction of the non-conforming building which can be destroyed or partially destroyed by fire or any other act of, and to grant relief from the strict application of the zoning ordinance to a specific piece of property by issuing the area or use variance as allowed herein. So this is just a little information about area variances. For instance, unique is the property has a unique condition, one that's not typically found in the same zoning district, relating to its width, depth, or shape of the lot, its topography, or other exceptional circumstance, and it's not created by the owner or the applicant, as well as partial difficulty, which is a strict application of the zoning ordinance, which would result in partial difficulties as distinguished as a mere inconvenience that would deprive the owner of the reasonable use of the property, as well as adjacent properties, which the variance would not unreasonably affect adjacent properties. And the spirit of the code, which is this variance would observe the spirit and zoning, as well as the welfare and substantial justice. And the last one is the observed criteria, as the variance would satisfy the additional variance criteria of the subsection.
That Chairman, if there's any questions for Mr. Carson.
At the very, very top of that graphic, the neighbor's property line, that is abutting the neighbor's property right there, as well as on the north side, what Mr. Trejo is drawing right now. Yes, sir. Yes. Right. Sorry. I have not. Okay. There's, okay, space on that side, yes.
So it's shown here. Sorry, it's shown here, the in-ground pool is proposed or that is the existing one?
Existing. So that pool in the house was already in code compliance and they're suggesting the variance of reorienting the pool. In your packet, there is a letter from the applicant that talks about the orientation where, or the reasoning behind why they're changing that orientation. There's some safety concerns, which being available, changing the orientation of the pool allows the family to have a better sight line of the pool, and that the pool's been used by their children as well as neighboring kids and neighbors in general. So it provides that, you know, safety reassurance, having that viewpoint from their living room to the pool.
The current 12% side yard, is that in compliance?
Yes. Also within your packets, just so I note it, there are some other, there's an email chain between me and Mr. Tabor talking about just different aspects of the pool as well as there's a letter that's part of the application that is from the applicant. And there are letters from the neighbors, with two of them being in support and one also being in support, but did have some concerns about the demolition of the pool and how it will be drained, because that particular person had some trees installed into their yard, hefty amount, and then does not want that back being drained into the backyard and having that water, you know, disrupt the pools and or pool in his yard, disrupt the trees and cause mosquitoes. But that letter is also in here. He is in support of it. He's just talking about the demolition and drainage process of the pool.
Right.
Be located at the southeast quarter. It'd be this property. If you see this line right here, it would be a property that's back here behind this picture.
Okay.
It's kind of catty cornered there on that, this end.
You said this is compliant as is, so that the existing concrete that's there isn't already in the setback, or that doesn't count because it's concrete and not an actual pool.
I think it's compliant with code with the amount that's over that setback.
The concrete's permitted.
Yep.
You have questions?
Thank you.
Ready to hear from the applicant? Come on up and be sworn in, please.
Okay, gentlemen, I can do both at the same time. If you can, make sure you state your name and addresses, in there, and then I'll swear you in. That way it's in the record.
Wentzville, Missouri.
The Prestige Pools.
Stuart Knoll, 344 Summerdale Lane, Olivet, Missouri, 63132.
Thank you, gentlemen. If I can swear them in, do you swear that the evidence that you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
All right. So let me address a couple of concerns. One of you gentlemen had asked about a fence. There is a fence now that kind of cuts right through the middle of that setback. I have a note here from the neighbor on the north end side that we contacted, and if I can bring this letter up for everybody to look at, it will address what his concerns are and what he would like for us to do on that, as well as what Mr. Knoll would like to do. Can I bring this up?
Do we have those letters?
This one, no, that one is new. The other ones
Okay.
you do.
We need to get it.
Yes.
Thank you.
So what we are proposing here is there is a current in-ground pool, which is approximately 60 years old. It's in need of a lot of repair, and it's just really not justifiable. The other issue that we have is that if you look at the pool, it's only about 7 foot off the house, 8 foot off the house. The majority of the deep end of the pool, which is where the children tend to hang out, is not visible from any part of the house. You have to physically walk outside to see the deep end of the pool. There is a lanai that Mr. and Mrs. Knoll have built off of the living room that is off the shallow area, which is where the cursor is right now. What we are proposing directly behind that lanai is the living room. What we are asking is that we be able to take and tear this pool out and put in a new one and turn it so that the whole pool is now visible from the living room. Unfortunately, because of the width of this lot and there's no depth, we have to go into the side lot. So in order to do that, we're asking for 11 feet of the side setback. And we intend to put in a brand new swimming pool. It's going to be a very nice pool and be something that the children can use for years to come. But we really have a concern with if we have to put it back in where it is now, it's not visible from the house. And it's, you know, as you have a swimming pool, been around a pool, the kids tend to spend most of their time in the deep end of the pool, and there's no visibility from inside the house. So we would like to request that variance for that very reason. As far as the fence goes, right now, there is a fence that kind of cuts through the middle of the setback. The neighbor has asked that we take that fence all the way back to the property line so that there is not a gap between the two fences for pedestrian traffic, and that we reduce his fence and put in a brand new fence, which Mr. and Mrs. Knoll have agreed to do. So now we would take down 2 fences and make that 1. I didn't change that on the drawing until we spoke with everybody, but where the fence is on the drawing is where it is currently.
So just so I'm clear, there's a fence around the pool now, and then also exterior fence around the yard?
No, there is a fence around the pool, that is conforming. That my neighbor to the north has a chain link fence, maybe it's 3.5 or 4 feet tall. That is, well, he doesn't like, he likes my nice vinyl fence. And he said, well, if you're gonna do this, I'd love to tie in and rip my ugly chain link fence out.
And the space between his chain link fence and yours is 2 feet?
No, it's probably 11 or
Oh.
12. I don't have the precise measurement, but it's at least 12.
So you want to push that fence back it's gonna be on your property line, but his chain link, he's gonna take out.
Yes,
So he's no longer gonna have a fence on the south side of his property?
correct. Yes, correct. But we would tie his fence in to mine at the corners.
We're gonna move the knoll fence to the property line.
Mm.
So the chain link will go away and a new fence will go in its place.
So what's in between them right now?
Dirt.
Yeah. It's this gap.
It was honeysuckle, but I ripped it all out. Cause it was just a weed. Yeah.
So we'll take two fences and turn them into one. Any questions?
Well, so the letter from this neighbor is on to your north.
Correct.
The neighbor that Carlos brought up is what, on the southeast side?
Southeast. Yes.
Was there a letter from that neighbor, Carlos?
Yes, yes, it is as part of your packet, Mr. Carswell noted that letter, and I'll show you in a county map. The subject property here is 344 Summerdale. As you can see it on your dais monitor. Directly behind them are three properties off of Dealman. The letter that you have with the concern about the drainage is 339 Dealman Road. It's this property right here. So it's kind of catty cornered off to the south.
And as Mr. Carswell pointed out, I think his concern was just with regard to the demolition and removing the water from the existing pool, which we would simply route, given the fact that it's very sanitary water, because it's pool water, out onto our street, which at the bottom of our street has a stormwater drain.
I guess my only question, so I didn't get through his letter, but
He's concerned when we drain the pool.
was
that's gonna
there,
run down.
was there an issue before with draining the pool with this neighbor or?
No, I mean, actually, no, this is news to me.
But he mentions flooding.
Yeah, I mean, there is so it's hard to tell because you don't have the topographical aspects here. The houses to the east sit on top of a hill. Or not a hill, but are elevated. My house and the houses on the east side of Summerdale Lane are also a little elevated. So there's a swale in the rear yard where the power lines essentially are for that power easement. But there's a swale, and whenever it rains, water pours down it. It does the same in the front of my property as well. And it causes a tremendous amount. Well, there's a lot of moisture and that water gathers speed.
But your pool will not drain into that in any way?
No. No, my pool, even the existing pool never has.
So the
Okay.
water,
I
water.
think-
problem- sorry, go ahead.
I think the neighbor's real concern here is just at the time of demolition, when you remove this amount of water, where does the water go? I think that's what the neighbor is really asking. He's not saying that on a routine basis, the pool is draining. I take it to read that, hey, when you tear this up and there are this many gallons, don't place them out the back door and let it flood to my newly planted landscape.
That was my understanding, and we'll run that out to the street and it'll run down.
Well, what about, I think there's another angle to it. What about, so you rip out the pool, tear it out, but is there any reconfiguration to that channel in the back? Because I guess perhaps that's what they're worried about. When you rip out the pool and put this new pool in, it's gonna change the topography in the back when it rains to cause further flooding because of a change in what's there now. Not so much with the pool draining, because like you said, it doesn't sound like this is more rainwater or significant rain flow, not the pool draining, because it sounds like you're draining the pool out to the street the opposite way of where this neighbor is anyway. I think the concern is during the construction, it's gonna change the topography of the land, so then when it rains, it's gonna more runoff water from the rain into that yard than necessarily pool water draining.
But wouldn't all the construction occur on the north end of the property and not on the southeast corner? Therefore, any indentations or sort of, impressions that occurred from equipment movement, et cetera. I mean, I don't think they'd even be touching that corner, right? I mean, all the work's occurring on the north side. I don't even see, I understand what you're saying now, but I don't see how construction on the north side could affect the topography on the southeast corner.
Because that street flows downward.
Well, as of right now, a lot of that
So when
yard.
the rain
flows-
hits that Dealman and Summerdale basically
Yeah, it's like a-
slope from north to south. So when it rains a lot, the water's coming down that way. My question is, I guess, is this construction going to change at all, this channel in the back?
No,
It will not. If anything, it'll reduce it less because now what does flow that way is actually gonna get caught up into the new pool. And we've only got a 3-foot walkway on that backside, so the only part that will be draining would be that 3 foot. And the yard that drains there now is actually gonna get caught in the pool and the rest of it's gonna go to the front yard. We're actually gonna send more water to the front yard than what's going there now. Also, too, there's a retaining wall up there and we'll put drains behind that retaining wall. We'll put rock and drains and then that will drain toward the street also.
That was gonna be one of my questions. So the photo that's up right now. Is this a retaining wall right here?
no, that is existing fence.
Oh, that's the vinyl fence.
Correct. And when we rebuilt the home in 2019, we also included a retention
Basin,
Basin.
retention basin, for water runoff. So
And
then,
like, where's that located though?
that retention basin is in the southeast corner of the property,
Okay.
but that catches, I think it's everything from my roof. I'd have to look at the engineering drawings, but that was approved previously when we brought in the for everything for 2019.
Board Member Weinstock, if I may. Not before the board, but part of the review process as we continue through the permitting is they will have to provide a stormwater management plan to show us how they're mitigating the changes in grade and stormwater generated by new surface areas. So as was alluded to, when they did the addition, they did put a detention basin underground in there for the addition purposes only. And there, so that's in place. Another one will be required for the pool flat work. And there's some other improvements that are, I believe that are also proposed, not before the board. Those will be reviewed by a different body, but they'll have to accommodate and provide a management plan for that. That can be either expanding the existing basin that they have or doing some type of what we call best management practice, BMP, where there is a rain garden, rain barrels or grading. So as they proceed to the next step, those will be reviewed as part of the process. And I agree with you. I think it's a good question. I mean, no matter what, the grading will change. It's not going to be the same. And there may be some benefit to that if it gets redirected to the street. There may not be, but they will still have to provide that mitigation plan. And I think what they were alluding to is that you can see right here, these are the county contours, kind of shows that there is a swell and you can see how it U-shapes, and then it kind of flattens out here. But that stormwater is coming all the way from Covington, going all the way down. And essentially, because of this swell, it's all collecting here. So yes, as you're getting lower and lower in that valley, you're getting more and more in that process. And you can see, it looks like maybe there's an inlet right here, and the purpose why that inlet's there is probably one of the lowest points in there, but they do have, I can understand, the concern of the adjacent owner. The goal is not to make it worse. Water's still gonna go down that swell. But if we can capture some of that or reduce the volume, especially the speed, that it would be a benefit in there. But that is the next step pending if, on the actions of the board.
And if I might add, I did do, a little bit of research, and given the shape of the lot, as Mr. Carswell mentioned earlier, with it being as wide as it is and having that front setback, when including the setbacks and reducing the buildable percentage of property, we can build on approximately 33.4% of the total property. Others, lots in the township or city, typically the buildable percentage of their lot is probably closer to, I'd certainly say 40, with a tremendous amount of confidence. But also, maybe even closer to 50 percent. And so that is the reason that we are requesting this variance, because of those constraints, because of the shape, in addition to the safety that it brings our family. And so, we just, I encourage your consideration. And additionally, if we were requesting, I would never bring a request for a variance for an above ground structure. I think that the variances are very clear and they're in place for a reason. And that is to maintain the beauty of our subdivision. And so I would never propose to build anything above the current grade in a setback.
Any other questions?
I have a question on the design of the pool. Have you looked to mitigate the runoff issues and how it's designed as far as the amount of concrete that's used versus maybe having landscaping and doing other things to maybe absorb some of the water?
Yes, so what we've done is we've put in enough area for the patio area that the homeowners are going to need for when they have the family and things like that over. It could be cut down, but as Carlos was stating earlier, we do have a water mitigation plan. And right now, we're working with the engineers and we fall just under what is capable of doing right now. So we're going to be within those guidelines of what was built when the house was constructed because they knew a pool was going to be going in. So as of right now, we're going to be under those numbers, but if we need to cut it back, we could certainly look at that. But as of right now, we cut it down so that we could stay within those parameters. And there will be some landscaping. There'll be quite a bit of landscaping, especially when we move that fence back.
Right.
The whole area between the pool, the retaining wall and the fence is all going to be landscaped and we'll be able to control that water and send that water out to the street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's close the public session and talk amongst ourselves.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There is nobody online to speak, and there's also nobody in the audience, just so it's on the record.
Thank you.
You don't need to leave.
Yeah, you'd say
You
here.
can stay.
Yeah. So,
I think given the unique situation of the house and the land, it's probably a reasonable variance to approve. I think there is a unique feature of the land.
Oh, yeah, agreed. I mean, with the width and how the width of the property and lack of the depth, we do have a unique sort of lot here. Safety is a concern, right? I totally get one to be able to see who's swimming in your pool from where you're sitting, even if you're not swimming too, that makes a ton of sense. And in terms of affecting neighboring properties, it seems to me like this benefits the neighbors. I mean, not from the obvious property value. I mean, you have an old pool here, right? It's already set up one way. not like they're putting in a new pool that changes this, but I mean, new pool, better property values, better fence, chain link is gone, improved drainage features, enhances the, concern of the southeast neighbor. Seems pretty reasonable to me.
Thank you.
I don't have any other comments. It was reasonable to me as well.
Okay, Carlos, I just had a quick question too, because before they build this pool, they do have to have a water runoff report, right?
Yes, and there's two steps in there. They're still required a review through the city's Planning and Community Design Commission. That commission has no authority to consider the current full footprint because it doesn't comply with code. If it is authorized by the board, then it would continue down to the city's Plan Commission. One of their roles is to analyze the stormwater and their solutions to address that, whether it's through contours, through some type of BMP or some type of structured detention system. There are two components in the code. Anything that exceeds 400 square feet has to provide stormwater detention. If it goes over 1,200 square feet, it has to be engineered stormwater detention. So we allow the property owner either to work with a landscape architect, but once it gets to a threshold of 1,200 square feet, then they have to hire an engineer. And that was something similar, I think, when they did the addition in there, they did the engineered underground detention. So there is still a process that will be analyzed in there. We didn't conduct that working with the petitioner in an effort. Let's get them to the board first to find out if this is something that can continue. Because if not, then they'll be revising the plans in some form or way, and we'd be looking at something different. So we talked about, we're going to go just talk about that setback first, see where that goes. I hope that addresses what you were asking.
Thank you.
I think if you look at section 400.1650 on variances, this meets all five of the criteria.
Okay, thank you. We will close the public session or private session. Why don't we call for a vote?
Yeah.
You'd like to read?
I'll make the motion, but where it is.
Bill?
Where is it? Is there a written motion already or not?
Yes, 1 second, sir.
Go ahead.
There you go. It's on the dais unless it's.
Motion to grant a side yard setback variance of 11.3 feet. The side yard variance being applied to the north property line as required under section 400.360. B, calculated as 25.2 feet. The permit side yard setback is 13.96 feet for the proposed pool, as illustrated in the plans dated January 24th, 2024, as prepared by Prestige Pools and Spas.
Second.
Thank you. Would you like to call for a vote?
Sure.
Okay,
Let's vote.
okay. Commissioner, Board Member Weinstock,
I'm in favor for it.
Board Member Hartman,
Favor.
Board Member Malik,
In favor.
Board Member Cicero,
Yes.
and Chairman Gerstein.
Yes.
So the motion passes 5-0. So the variance, the side yard setback variance is granted. And there, what happens at that now lets us to proceed with continued review of the application plans. The next step is an aesthetic and stormwater review by the city's plan commission. Those are public meetings and we'll get that coordinated with you. And there will probably be early June to meet the docket requirements for that. After the commission reviews and all the final aspects of this are analyzed, once they take action, then the next step would be applying for those building permits.
Just as an emphasis point, I think the water concerns were the only
Understand.
ones that were significant among the committee. That should be a priority, I would think.
Yes. And we'll make sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Carlos, is there any other business you have to do?
No, Chairman, be glad to answer any questions or inquiries regarding to current business activities in the city, but all
Yeah,
going well.
if an update on current
You're sure?
construction would be useful.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Congratulations.
Okay.
Good night.
I'll start on the eastern side of town. We do have an Audi's grocery store development that will be starting construction hopefully within by June. And there it's going to be located at Olive Crossing between Olive and the apartments on the Price Road side. And there will be a Audi's grocery store. And there's they have a really nice building in there. And it's I think it's a 20 or 25,000 square foot grocery store. So I
There
think
enough
it'll fit. Pardon?
Is there enough
Oh,
parking
yes.
there for the?
And there is structured parking as part of the whole complex too, but they'll have an outdoor field of parking that will be on the interstate side. Okay. Then just a little bit closer to where the I-170 ramps are, there's a 15,000 square foot, 1-story retail building, multi-retail building that is proposed. That one's kind of been running behind. We've issued the permits, but they haven't started construction. It's been over 6 months that they've had the permit in there, but it's kind of reflective of things going on with the market in there. And now we do know, based on paper articles, that 2 tenants are proposed for that multi-story, multi-tenant building. It's only 1 story. A facility called the Parisian Baguette. In there, it will be their first location in the St. Louis region, and then a Smoothie King. And then he's got 1 additional bay left that is supposed to be another restaurant in there that hasn't come in as of yet. But again, we've issued that permit. We're kind of waiting for them to get going on that in there. As part of the development, there's 2 other projects that are proposed. One is an office building, and then with a structured parking facility, and then a hotel. Hotel wants to go in once the office building gets up and going. So clients aren't passing through the construction work. However, the office market is really soft right now. And there, so I know they're working diligently in that, but it's strange times for office purposes in there. As you move on across the street behind the Chevys and CVS, there's a 205 unit apartment building that's been proposed. It was approved about 3 years ago. Again, with the pandemic, it was kind of slowed down but they're getting ready to start construction hopefully in June. Again, they had bought out a residential subdivision without any abatements or eminent domain. They had negotiated with each individual property owner, bought the properties. I think there were 21 single family homes that were there and there. So we're looking forward to that development. The Great Rivers Greenway is working on expanding the trail from Shaw Park. Now goes under I-170 through the Olive Crossing. There is now a new crosswalk on Hilltop that gets you to Chevy's, and then between Chevy's and CVS, there'll be a new multi-purpose trail system that'll run through an abandoned railroad corridor all the way to Dillman Road, just down the block from here. So you'll be able to go from our building up Dillman, take the new trail that's just north of the fire department, interconnect with that trail at Dillman, and then cross over to Indian Meadows Park. And then within Indian Meadows Park, they're working on a current trail that will take you to the new community center at 5 Oaks. That will connect with Creve Coeur in the 39 North Innovation District and cross Lindbergh. They're still not sure specifically how. One proposal is through a bridge, another one is through having a surface crossing in there. And ultimately, that'll get you to Creve Coeur Park, which then gets you to the Katy Trail. So we'll kind of centered in there. And you go a little bit north on Price Road, Padel and Pickle opened their facilities in February. Really nice facility, really neat repurposed use of a old warehouse. It used to be Southern Comfort Distillery. That's always kind of neat, to see some of these facilities repurposed. And their neighbor within that same building is Latch.com, which relocated their New York headquarters to Olivet. Wow. And they're operating out of there. And they did some nice improvements to that to that building. And then we're working with another tenant that's looking to take place that does apple cider alcoholic type. So it's kind of neat to see, you know, that it kind of goes around again, you know, getting not distillery, but similar. So the big impact to the city was enterprise fleet management, and they I guess enterprise as a whole kind of you know, consolidated offices. So they had a pretty major facility here in the Dealman Industrial Park, over 150,000 square feet. That building is now vacant, and again, the office market is really soft right now, but we're scheduled to meet with them and do what we can to get that back into use. And there, they used to have before the pandemic over 850 people that used to work there. So that one's a hard one to do. And then next door there was a tile facility called Virginia Tile. They had been in the city for well over 12 years. They also consolidated, and their workforce was moved to the Kansas City area. So I left us two 40,000 square foot warehouses. But we found tenants for those. They're working on their permits. One is I always get the name, Two Rivers Cabinetry. They do a high-end residential work, and then a marble counter facility in there. So they'll bring some manufacturing back into that area. And there, so we're excited about those two tenants coming in. As you go down, Olive Easy Storage is scheduled to open probably next week if the weather holds up. There's still a little bit of flat work and things that they need to work in the interior. All the storage facility is you drive inside the building, and then all the activity that for the storage takes place indoors. You get an elevator, and then you put your stuff. It's all climate controlled in there, so you don't see that activity from the street side. On the street side, there'll be at least 4 retail tenants and then their office in there. And right now, based on an article with the St. Louis Magazine, one of the tenants is going to be an ice cream shop. So we're excited about that. They have a nice little outdoor area. They've done great street work in there if you pass by. And they're starting to look really nice. The next thing that will come in will be their landscaping. Further down where the Olivet Center is, which is where the Party City goes to, where the old Tuesday Morning is, but now is the home of the St. Louis Academy of Dance. That shopping center is finally fully occupied. It's always had a vacancy of some sort, but now it will be 100% occupied. The last tenant supposed to be some type of men's warehouse. And they're not Men's Warehouse, the store, but a men's clothing store. And now, since I've been here, that'll be the first time that all the shops are occupied. So we're excited about that. And then you know, the new community center is up and running. It's a great facility. If you haven't gone there, take a look. They have a lot of activities in there. And then, of course, as you go down to our neighbor, Creve Coeur, they have that $1 billion project, you know, that's proposed on the western campus of the old Bayer Monsanto facility. They received their approvals, and they're out there grading. That grading is probably going to take about a year before we start seeing any construction activity on that side. So,
How much space is there actually?
I know it was I think it was like 120 acres. Yeah. And then building wise, I'd be lying if I knew what the amount was, but it's quite a bit.
There'll be a lot of development.
Yes.
Well,
So I
thank you.
think if there's anything else, or any other inquiries, it's been a busy
I got it.
year.
Nice to get an update.
Yeah, it's awesome. Few things going on.
Yes.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Greatly appreciate it, guys, for you.
No problem.
Nice not to have a controversial one.
Yeah. That would have been a no-brainer.
Who's building that too, Bob?
I guess your team's one of
Well, my wife works for that, so yeah. And for the dog.